Okay, so I'm back with another video. If you listened into last video, I talked about my Primarchs for the Horus Heresy, 30k Horus Heresy Age of Darkness figures, and I thought maybe I'd show off what I've managed to collect so far. I have all but 6 of them. I think I only still need to collect Lionel Johnson, who just came out, Jagged I Can, who's not around yet, Perturabo, Kurz, Gulliman. Yeah, so that's it. I have about 5 or 6 I have to get still. But here's the ones I've done. I've painted 6 of them so far. I guess we'll go in order of what I've shown already. You've already seen, if you watched the last video, already seen Loregar. Again, you're not going to see any pro-painted figures here, I'm afraid. These are just tabletop standard, to my standard at least. My figures. So this was the very first one I ever bought. This was this little base here. This was the Ward Bear's Primarch Loregar. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you already know that. But anyway, it's a really simple figure. Like it's the detail in his armor, the etchings and stuff is just fantastic. But because he was the first one I ever bought, I decided to splurge for myself and buy this guy because of his pose. I just loved the idea of the pose being so like dramatic without being like crazy, like Angron's running pose or Korx is coming down from the sky. Those poses are cool and show that we're Primarch, but this just standing here looking out looks like he's just after giving a speech. You know, he's famous for giving his sermons, but it looks apart. And I decided to do him in the silver gray, not in his I guess his Ward Bearer color, his like crimson color. I just thought this looked cool, and this is him. That's the first guy there. That's Loregar. The next one I got was the man himself, Horus Lupercal. Sorry, get him into focus here. And this is him, and this is another figure that just the pose alone like was what did it for me. I just needed it. You know, I love the base that he's on too. I mean, it's so good. I changed his head to be looking along the axis of his of Worldbreaker. Just so you know, like if you look there, like, hey, come at. It looks pretty good. I mean, come at me, man, or you're dead next, or you know, pointing across the horizon, over to the horizon, like attack over there, or whatever he's saying in this pose just looks so awesome. Again, not overly actiony, or he's not doing anything dramatic. It's just so great with him standing on the eagle head there. Could mean so many things. Is this Horus after he's been tainted or pre-tainted? Well, probably the black armor would mean that it's afterwards. I don't know if he wore black armor before he turned, but I chose the black armor because I liked it a lot. And this model was just so easy to paint. Like, it was amazing. It was an amazing experience to paint him, and I'm really happy with how he came out. And I know he's not up to standards of others you'll see online, but to me, he's great. Sorry for the moving around. I'm still trying to get used to where I should have my hands. I'm kind of looking at the figure through the screen of the phone versus the actual, like, looking over. But anyway, that's him. That's Horus. That's the second one I ever bought. The third one I ever bought was this one, Angron. Now, to me, this is probably my worst painted one, just because I had a really hard time getting the color, the brass color, the bronze color of his armor. I had to paint him several times because I just was never happy with it. And this one is still a little bit too shiny for me, but it is what it is. I chose to paint the Marines on his base. I chose to paint them as World Eaters because I wanted to. Because I think if I'm wrong, I think he was the first Primarch released. I believe he was. And because of that, I figured, hey, these these are his loyalist world leaders on Istvan 3, so they got painted up as world leaders. Still need to add the decals to them, but I don't feel like really buying a whole sheet of world leaders transfers just for a few. But another cool model. Not as detailed as Horus or even Loregar, but still awesome. Painting those eyes was a pain in the butt. It's good enough. And that's the third one I ever bought. The fourth one was this guy here. Now, this is the one I hate the most. This is Korx. And I said before in a previous video that I don't like painting black, and I had a devil of a time trying to figure out how to paint this guy. I went back and forth, and I settled on this. I painted up really basically. With the Emperor's Children Marine here, I tried to do a metallic purple, and this was more of a test for an army idea I had, a color scheme idea I had of how to paint Emperor's Children. And I tested it on this model, and it's not what I wanted, but it works out okay. But Korx has an amazing pose. It doesn't look like a whole lot, to be honest. It doesn't look that great until you add in this like crushed piece of slab, slate, tile, whatever it is. And once my eye follows him down from his head down through his leg, and he's crushing that tile, then the action pose comes in. He's like landing hard. So I really appreciate that. It looks really good. Again, he's not my favorite guy. I didn't have a whole lot of time to put into him. I don't know why. The color on the wings here, these wings, like they came from forgeworld really, really poorly. Like there was a lot of cleanup, and I was so terrified of using my knife skills. My hobby skills aren't that great, and I was so worried about breaking the model. He cost so much money. I basically gave up trying to clean them and tried to cover up the imperfections with paint. And, it's okay. But his face is pretty good. Like, if we're looking on his face here. Oh, sorry. His face was okay. So that was the fourth one. Only two more left. The next guy that I got and I painted was this guy back here. Mortarian. I painted him. He actually took no time at all to paint. You can see by the base, I didn't put a whole lot of effort into the basing. But it looks okay. Like brown, grungy. I could have weathered him a whole lot more too. But I liked how this came out. I know it's probably a little too clean for people's taste, especially the cloak. But like I said, I'm not a pro painter. Putting his backpack together was a little finicky, a little weird. And I honestly did not have any idea of what to do for his little like wooden shaft. Is that wooden? Is it metal? What is it? But other than those two things, I liked him. His eyes or his face is an amazing face inside there. He looks the part, to be honest, when he's on the table. So when he's on the table, he looks like Mortarian, and that's all I care about. But this guy took me not one afternoon, but he took me about a day to paint. So, excuse me, I'm not sure where this cough is coming from. I'll be hauled off to the jail in a second if I cough too loudly. My neighbors will call on me. Not pro-painted, but still, I like him a lot. Last but not least is probably the model I like the most. Not a stoic pose like Loregar or Horus, but stabbing a marine in the back while they're on the ground. Yep, that screams Alfarius. Now, don't crucify me here, but this guy was painted with mainly contrast paints. This was the first one that I had, the first one of the Primarch guys that I even attempted to do a contrast paints, and only because I had no idea how to get the scales to be this like metallic-y green blue. color, and I'm not sure what the name of it is, but the Ascalon green from the contrast paint, it just seemed to work. So I just sprayed the whole model silver, put that down in its spots, tidied it up, neatened it up, and went from there. I chose an Imperial Fist. He needs decals, but I chose an Imperial Fist, and probably some weathering too, some decals and weathering. But I chose an Imperial Fist simply because at the time I was reading the book where Rogal Dorn goes aboard his Alfarius' flagship and cuts him in half, or cuts his arms off or his hands off and kills him. And I just thought this was a cool little homage to that, killing an Imperial Fist. Maybe this is the reason why Rogal Dorn killed him, but that's if you believe he's dead. But this is the 6th Primarch. The backpack was simply amazing. The paint job's not perfect, obviously, but I mean, the model is fantastic. What a model. Anyway, that's that. So that's all the 6 that I have. I have Sanguinius. I have Leman Russ. I have Ferrus Manus. I have Vulcan. Rogal Dorn. I think that's probably it still to paint. And I just thought as a bonus I would show you this. This is my Emperor figure. Now, people out there, if they see this, whoever might ever watch this video, I'm sure there'll be people out there who know who makes this figure, but I picked this up at a local friendly local gaming store, and I don't know how I seen it. He wasn't marked. He was in a plain white box. It said Emperor of Mankind on it. I opened it up and I seen the resin figure and I thought, oh my god, this is the Emperor. And I just bought him just to have him, just to paint him, just to try my hand. I can't wait for the day that forgeworld maybe will make an official Emperor model. And I don't know what that would look like. Like, I have an idea of what it'll look like, but the pose they'll choose for that will be, killer. Hopefully they choose a really good one. I love Sanguinius, but I wasn't a fan of the pose they chose. I love Korx, but I'm not a fan of the pose they chose for him. So one day when forgeworld do eventually get around to making the Emperor figure, I hope he's in a cool pose. This isn't my favorite pose I've ever seen a figure in, but just couldn't pass it up. Again, very simple. I tried to do the glowy effect with the eyes, but I'm not very good at that kind of stuff. But hey, this took about, I don't know, in and out, this probably took an hour and a half to paint. And you can tell it's not painted very well, but I like it. He doesn't have the same grandeur as the forgeworld models do. I mean, he could use it with a better base, but for an unofficial figure, let's see the two guys together. As an unofficial figure, it looks pretty damn good. The scale is probably a little off, but it's all right. Anyway, that's a look at my forgeworld Primarch series that I have collected and painted so far. 6 of them, hopefully more coming up soon. I really have to be in a certain mood to paint Primarchs. They're such expensive models, and they're such amazing models that it's very daunting. It's very daunting even attempting to paint a Primarch. But I hope you enjoyed that. Just a little short look at what I've done so far. I know this video is not going to go and reach that many people, but it's like I said before. It's on my first video. It's just really for me. It's for my own consumption. And if you appreciated it, that's great. And if not, hey, that's great too. All right, thanks. See you later.